Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
It's a lovely day.
It is. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood.
And we need to thank our fans.
Yes. Thank you, listeners.
You guys have come through. The numbers are looking great, and you keep spreading the word, and that's exactly what we need you to do.
That's right. You've obviously told a couple friends.
And they have told some people, so that's good.
And, yes, and new listeners that have been told by your friends to listen. Tell some people.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of shows behind you. You can start at number 1, or you can just start here. It doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't
matter at all. But tell your friends.
Yeah.
And if for some reason your friend told you to listen and you hated the show, tell your enemies. We don't care. Just, hey man, these guys are terrible. You got to hear them.
Now, look, you're probably listening on an iPod or whatever, iPhone, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to our website and check it out because it's ampsandaxescast.com. And all of our social media links are right there at the top, and there's a little Amazon banner there.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you click through that guy and you buy something, guess what? It puts a little wind in the sail, keeps juice running, and we can make the payments that we have to make.
Look, Valentine's Day is coming up.
That's right.
You got to buy something for the little lady.
Yeah, you got to buy something for that man-made holiday.
Yeah, there's that.
Hallmark, baby.
That's right.
What do you think their cut is?
Well, let's see what that would be. Valentine's Day card sales around Valentine's Day. That would be their cut.
Yeah.
Wow.
So definitely go check out the show. All the archives are there. Everything is there. You can get it all the goodies.
That's right. And check out our other show.
Yes, you got to check out This Week in Music.
Yeah.
That is right underneath the episode.
Cool.
And then right underneath that is our good buddy
Jason Sadidas.
That's right, and he gives us
Quick Click.
And he's at number 91 this week.
All righty.
So we will be not saying goodbye.
No.
But we'll just, this will be his
absolutely,
last.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yes, and this is his last Quick Lick for, I don't know. Well, you never know.
Who knows?
Jason's a part of the family. He can come back anytime he wants.
Absolutely.
Doors open. Because his price is so affordable.
It is.
It was free.
It's next to nothing. Wait a minute. It is nothing.
Exactly.
No, and we really do appreciate the time that he took for all those episodes.
Yes, and the lovely people over there at the Godine factory.
Yes.
Handing him those beautiful guitars. And, of course, him playing through those wonderful amps. East amps.
There we go. Yeah. I couldn't remember what they were.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, definitely check that out. And look, go to his YouTube page. Check that out, too. Now, you hit it on our site, it hits his, but definitely go out to his YouTube page because he does more than just the Quick Lick.
Oh, absolutely.
And he was at NAMM. There's a whole bunch of video out there of him at NAMM, and he was tearing it up, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, another friend of ours, a good friend of East, has, I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I'm sure it's okay for me to say it by now. But a good friend of East, a good friend of mine for years, Mr. Shea Welsh, kind of a jazzy, kind of rock jazz kind of player.
Okay.
On the left coast, he moved out there years ago. He moved out there to set up a career in music. In the LA area, know, and for a while he was probably still does. He was teaching like the kids of the stars and all that, teach them how to play and all that. He just got signed to a label for his new release, So really happy for him.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
He's a very big East proponent as well, and he plays really cool guitars. I don't know if you heard of these things. They're called Sadowskis.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he he plays some good stuff, but he is recording, or it might just be finished, but he's signed, so his release will be coming out on a label soon, and we're really happy for.
We'll let you know when that happens.
Really happy for Shay. Yeah, absolutely.
You have to circle back around.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So he's doing good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately lost someone else this week.
Yeah,
in the music industry, and this is a big. If you're into prog, this is a big guy. And you might be into prog because of our last podcast that you listened to, Randy George.
That's right.
Lost a prog bass player of many cool bands over the years. The biggest one, of course, was Asia, but King Crimson, Uriah Heep, and my favorite, UK. And Holsworth was the guitar player in UK.
That must have been many notes.
Oh yeah, no, really, but really done well, very done well. So yeah, we just lost John Wetton, not only a great prog bass player, but a great vocalist too.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's the
band's getting bigger up there.
Yeah, phew, it really is. Wow. And speaking of bands, one of my favorite bands, Black Sabbath, it's coming to an end. As you hear this show, tonight is the last show they will do.
That's true. And it's the second of a 2-night run.
Yes.
Back where they started, right?
Yeah, Birmingham.
Yeah.
Alabama. No. UK. They're going to finish up, and that's, the whole thing. There's been some words between Bill and Tony saying how much they don't dislike each other, and Tony was saying that he was sick when all the management made the offer to Bill, and Bill turned it down, said it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Tony says I would love for him to come out, so I'm hoping.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That he'll be there for this last show. Come out and
so cool.
Pound the drums a little bit. That would be cool, man. Yeah, the Final Four.
You think they might record it?
I think it's probably going to be a DVD. Or maybe even shown on the BBC.
It could be.
I just made a rhyme. I rarely ever do that.
DVD on the BBC.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of prog bands.
Yes, we actually have another guest from said prog band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He is the guitarist extraordinaire.
Yeah, man.
For the Neal Morse band, as Randy George was this past week. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with our guest of the week, the 6 or is it 7-string player?
I'm not sure. I think he covers both.
For the Neal Morse band,
yeah.
Mr. Eric Gillette.
Hi, this is Nita Strauss, guitar player from the Alice Cooper Band, and you're listening to Amps and Axes.
All right, and we are back as promised with our guest of the week, guitarist extraordinaire for the Neal Morse Band, Mr. Eric Gillette. Eric, how are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for taking the time with us.
Let me tell you.
Absolutely.
I always have a story.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So
yes.
I'm watching the one video. I forget the name of it. I apologize. We've watched a bunch of YouTube videos with the guys.
City of Destruction or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, and Eric comes up and I'm like, well, that's a John Petrucci model. Ernie Ball, and I'm like, this is going to be incredible. And he didn't hold back at all. That's an incredible guitar, isn't it?
Say that again?
I said that's a pretty incredible guitar, isn't it?
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. And actually, I just got a new one too. That it's a JP12. The ones in the video I was using a JP7, but just Music Man is like, for me, the ultimate. They just create the ultimate instrument for what I do. I know It's all preference for people, and it happens to be my favorite. And that specific model just has everything I need for this kind of music. And yeah, I freaking love it. And the JP12 I got is probably the best playing guitar. I mean, for me, it plays even better than the JP7 I have. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I'm honored to be a part of their family. So.
Yeah, you know, there was a video the other day that I turned Jeff on where it was Paul Gilbert, John Petrucci, Steve Morse, and Steve Lukather all standing at the Ernie Ball booth.
The booth at NAMM, yeah.
And,
yeah, I think I saw that.
And it was Anderton's. It was the captain. He was trying to do an interview with Ernie or with Sterling, and it just went south. I mean, really bad. And but it was
Sterling's got a hell of a sense of humor.
Oh
too.
my God, yeah. But you know, if you look at those.
I wish I could have been there to fly on the wall for that.
yeah. Those three guitars, right? Because Paul doesn't have an Ernie Ball guitar. Mm-hmm. But those three guitars, the Steve Morse, the Steve Lukather, and the John, they couldn't be any different from each other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Wow,
that's the that's the versatility of that company. They can make something, because, you know, John's is like a 20-inch radius. That thing's like playing a tabletop.
Wow.
And then Luke's is like a Strat.
It's very flat, which is great for, you know, for speed and flying and all that. But yeah, I mean, they're totally different. A friend of mine has one of the Luke 3 or L3. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what they call it. But yeah, and that guitar is phenomenal. And it's got a whole bunch of little, you know, I mean, let alone the look and the feel of it's different. But I mean, they're definitely not putting out cookie cutter instruments, especially with their signature models.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, we've gotten into gear far too quickly because I
know,
but that's I know it comes with a story. I know, but you know, I'm gonna take Eric and we're gonna go take a trip in the Wayback Machine, like I always do, and we're gonna find out where Mr. Eric Gillette came from and how you wound up playing such incredible guitar with, you know, such cool musicians and some awesome music. So, give us a little history, Eric.
Okay, getting in the time machine here, see if I can remember. I started piano when I was 4, so piano is really my first instrument. I didn't pick up the guitar until about 12, and so I was, you know, just playing in my bedroom for I don't know how many years, just, you know, spending my summers 8 hours a day, just trying to learn Joe Satriani licks, you know, and then I can't remember. I'm trying to think what led me to my love for this kind of music. And if I remember correctly, it was, you know, I went through a huge Metallica phase where I was just totally into Metallica. And then I think somehow that led me, or a friend of mine gave me a CD of Joe Satriani because he knew I was totally into guitar. And then I heard that. And, you know, it kind of opens your eyes like, oh, what is this? And then, you know, that led me to Steve Vai. And somehow I ended up going to a G3 show in Fort Worth. I forget what year, but I know that it was the one that John Petrucci, it was him and Dave LaRue and Mike Portnoy was on drums.
Wow.
And they played first. It's a 3-piece. And they came out and he was playing a 7th string, playing this heavy thing. And just shredding, and I was just like, who is this? Who are all these guys? And then, you know, instantly go home and start Googling, and then that's what led me to be a fan of Mike. And then actually, I believe it was through Mike that I found out about Neal's stuff, and then, you know, was buying his stuff and his DVDs. And then you fast forward 10 years, you know, and I've been playing for a long time. I'm still pretty young at that point. But there was, I can't remember the year, I think it was 2012. I saw there was a post where Neal was, you know, auditioning or holding open auditions for basically a touring band. And I was just like, yeah, I got to do that. There was no like, maybe. It was like, okay, I'm doing that. And then next thing you know, I make a few videos, post them, and I get the invite for an in-person audition in Nashville. And then, so I head out to Nashville and do the audition and get the gig, and then I'm next thing I know, I'm a hired gun in Neal's band, and I get to start playing with, which is my favorite drummer in the world, which is Mike, which is amazing to, you know, just to call him a friend now. It's still, everything's, that I get to play with these guys is just phenomenal. It's still pinch myself. These guys are the best of the best, in my opinion. And then, yeah, fast forward even more, and we had so much chemistry that we decided let's get together and let's do some writing and see what comes out, and made it a band. And next thing you know, we got our second album, which was quite the undertaking, and I think we're all very proud of and absolutely loving playing it every night. So yeah, that's the short version. I don't know how short that was.
No, that was plenty. Actually, it was too short for me, because I want to go back to you're spending your summers in your room, like kind of woodshedding. Where was that? Where were you living?
I grew up in Dallas, actually.
In Dallas, okay.
I played there a few nights ago.
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, kind of suburbs of Dallas, and basically, lived there and grew up my whole life around there. Moved a few times, but always stayed, right around Dallas.
Mm-hmm. And what's you said piano first and then guitar. What was your what was the guitar that you were woodshedding with during the summer? Do you remember the first one you had?
The funny thing is, my first guitar. What happened was my dad always kind of would play guitar. He had like a Guild acoustic that he kept in the closet. And
I was going to ask you if somebody in your family was musical.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my dad is. Not by profession or anything, but
okay.
they would always. My aunt is really the one that's. She plays everything. She actually plays bluegrass music, which was one of my first introductions to playing music, which is actually really great because there's so much improvisation and soloing and noodling that you do in that kind of music. And
mm-hmm.
I would literally be sitting. She would just put an instrument in my hands, and we'd be sitting in a little circle, and they'd go around the horn. And when it comes my turn, they look at you solo. So you figure it out by trial and error. And but yeah, my aunt was one. She plays everything from piano, banjo, mandolin, violin. So those instruments were always kind of around at family deals, and she would always just stick one in my hand, and I would figure out how to play mandolin. But yeah, so my first real guitar, they saw that I had an interest because I would go in the closet and get my dad's Guild out and just kind of strum on it. And so turns out a cousin of mine had it's just like a little classical guitar that she had somehow and didn't need it. They just gave me that. So it was this little classical acoustic was my first guitar for a little bit.
Wow, that's kind of different. If you're not really going into or leaning towards classical music, it's kind of a different instrument to initially learn on, to play stuff that is
hard. It's the neck's big, and even if it has nylon strings, the fretting is difficult because especially with little hands.
Yeah.
But I think they realized that, at least my aunt and my dad who play, and I think my aunt had also a different steel string acoustic she ended up letting me have. And then my first electric was actually from Sam's, and it was a Kramer with it was like one of those guitar amp combo deals for like $100. My mom picked it up from Sam's.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and that was probably way more playable than the classical guitar.
Oh yeah,
yeah, definitely.
And then on the little Kramer amp, it had this magic button I've never heard of called drive or overdrive. And once I hit that and the sound came, it was like the heavens opened. I'm sure it was the most terrible overdrive sound ever, but once you start piecing together, that's that sound from whatever, and yeah, that's when the doors open for me. Was like, because until that point I just was, playing a clean electric through a clean amp,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the wonderful thing about the availability of those kind of packages nowadays. We just discussed this on an interview before, but you're able to, for not a whole lot of money for most people, get something
that plays
that's playable, that's way more playable than anything that I or you had when we were kids, and an amp that has this magic button on it, and it's like whether it's the crappiest sound in the world or whatever, it's like if it opens that door for somebody, that's great. That's just perfect.
And the funny thing is that like when I had when I was doing my thing, and I started out, the same thing, a clean amp, but it didn't have the magic button, right? So my friend goes, yeah, man, you got to go get one of these distortion pedals. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what is that?
Right.
And Metal Zone, we're back.
There you go.
So I got this big muff fuzz, right? And I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And what do? We just turn all the way up.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's that instant of realization. That's like, oh, that's where that comes from.
It's definitely, with the technology, it's even more available, like you're saying. Like, we have this little Yamaha practice amp that one of the guitar tech brought on here that's, I forget the model, but it's a Yamaha, and you just plug it in and pick like a little amp model, and it sounds killer.
Yeah, I've seen that thing. And you can actually
like
plug that.
$200 or something.
Yeah, and you can plug it through your laptop and like manipulate the crap out of it. I mean, it's got, it's a really good amp. It's got like 2 5-inch speakers or 4-inch, something like that in it.
I think it's one.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm thinking.
It's got the low end on it. Was very surprising.
Yeah. It's like a little tabletop thing.
Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty wild, man.
That is. So when did you first get together with other people and start making collective noise?
Let's see. I had probably when I was like 16 or so. I think I had a friend in high school that played drums and had a guitar, and we would just kind of bash out loud noises as loud as we could, as late as we could. That was just, it never became a band or it played live or anything. But I started playing in a band when I was, maybe it was just after that, 16 or 17. There was this group that their guitar player quit, and they were in the middle of a recording. And I literally didn't know any of the music, and this was also my first studio experience. And it was a place called Crystal Clear Studios in Dallas, kind of the Irving area. A lot of I think like the first Dixie Chicks record was maybe done there. There's a lot of big, it's a smaller studio, and ironically, fast forward a little bit, I went to school for audio engineering, and I ended up doing an internship at this same studio. So along with that, side note, but that ended up being pretty cool. But yeah, so I went into that studio, and they were just like literally put the music on and was like, yeah, can you just like solo and do stuff? So yeah, it was a lot of pressure. Everyone and the whole band just sitting in there like looking through the glass at me, at this 16-year-old. And I wheeled in my Line 6 Flex Tone 2 amp, and didn't understand about the recording process. And the engineer I remember saying like, can you turn off the effects? How engineers, some prefer to like add their own delay and reverb, and
sure.
So I had to like go in and figure out how to turn all that stuff off, and then it felt really sterile because I'm so used to playing with some of that stuff behind me. But
it's a foreign feel at that point,
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just hammered it out, and started playing with them for a little while, and yeah, at some point in my life, I was playing with that group, and we had we would do summer camps and stuff like that, and it came to a point where I enjoyed sports in school too. I played on the basketball team and stuff, but at some point I had to choose, okay, I'd rather play music because I couldn't do both. And I remember some of my friends would kind of, he plays in a band, or kind of poke fun, but I was just like, this I'd much rather do this, and nothing against sports, but that I didn't feel like that's not what I wanted to do.
That's funny. You say
with my life, and I kind of knew that's what I wanted to do was music. So
you say poke fun. It's like, I always thought that the kids that played in a rock band were cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I sat in my room.
Well, I guess the jocks poke fun at them. But, the musicians poke fun at the jocks, and
Now, let me ask you, Eric, how old are you?
I'm 32. I'll be 33 in August.
32. Okay, because when you were saying like you didn't know who John Petrucci was until you saw G3, I'm going, well, he's probably younger than
has to be the youngster in the band. Yeah.
So that's
at the time I was probably only 17 or 8, maybe 17 when I found out about Petrucci.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I was definitely late to the game because when I went home and found out the first, which I mean, I have to go back and look at the years. I could be wrong. It was either the most prominent record that was, I could locate online, or it was the latest record at the time. But Scenes from a Memory was the first thing I found, and to be honest, that opened my world to keyboard as well, because I mean, like I said, I played, but when I'm listening to, like, you know, there's the keyboard solos in there are to the point where me and my friends, you know, it's the first time I've ever had that experience of, is that a guitar or a keyboard?
That's Sheridian, right?
Yeah, Sheridian.
To this day, I love whenever, I think I did a couple keyboard solos on my latest record, and I had some guy the other day say something about, the guitar solos on this song are awesome, and there's only one guitar solo on this, and then there's a keyboard solo. So I was like, okay, I did my job.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, so I went out and bought a Kurzweil K2500 because, you know, that's what Jordan was playing. And,
Jordan, that's right.
It opened my world to just musically a different dimension, I would say. Yeah,
because he took over for Derek Sheridian. So Derek was the first keyboard player in Dream Theater.
Okay.
And then Jordan, what's his last name? Jordan
Brutus.
He's the guy. He's currently in the band, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mike, which is the irony behind it, you know, the guy that really helped put the band together. I mean, they were all Berkeley. Yeah. You know, he's no longer in the band. Right. They got another drummer who is a monster. It's like, I don't know what's in the water.
You have to be. You got to be a monster.
Exactly.
You got to be a monster to play with Neal Morse band, too.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, you know, the funny thing about your story is here, Eric, is that you kind of like, it's almost like kind of patterned, and it's not, you know, it's two different worlds, but Richie Faulkner did the same exact thing. I mean, he did a bunch of videos online, and now he plays as KK Downing in Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Literally resurrected
awesome.
that band. Because they were going to do like 6 shows a year, because they were all getting sore. They were tired. They you know, ailments, and I think Rob Halford had to have his hips replaced, and it was like this whole thing. He got in the band, and they are doing songs they haven't done in 20 years.
Wow.
Because Richie is just, you know, he's a young 32-year-old guy, and he comes in and he's like, "Hey man, you remember this song Sinner?" You know, and they're like, "Yeah, we haven't done that in 25 years. And he's like, "Well, let's learn it again," you know? So he got them to do the old catalog. They're out there touring like crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Crazy.
That's awesome. I want to go back. I want to go back a second. Your first studio experience, did that ever get released? Is that available anywhere?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, at that point, it was before the whole, I mean, the internet was available, but it was kind of before the whole, you know, making your music so readily available online. So at some point, I'm sure in my closet, I've got some CDs of it. It's one of those things that it's probably a lot of cringing if I listen back. But, you know, if you don't have that, then in my opinion, you're not growing, because if you don't listen back to previous work and see something you could have maybe done better, then you're kind of sitting in the same place musically, I would think. So, I mean, it's still kind of painful to listen back and cringe at something you did, but it also, at the same time, it's kind of like, well, hopefully I've come a long way if I'm realizing that, you know, that was not the best ever. But, yeah, I'm sure those CDs are somewhere in my closet. I don't know if I'm going to go out of my way to upload them and make them available, but you never know.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like, okay, you know, you listen back now and there's cringe moments, but you know, either had you never had that experience and kept moving forward, you wouldn't be where you were today, or if you waited for perfection, you wouldn't get anywhere either.
Exactly.
You know, you've got to grow that way. It's you know, it's a natural progression.
You just gotta put it out there and be okay with it, and you know, hope that you put the work in and hopefully be better in the future.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Now, being out of Dallas, and you said you were a Metallica fan, did Pantera ever be one of your things, or
you know, later? I wouldn't say I got into them as much as Metallica. I mean, I know ironically because they're Dallas cats, but yeah, for some reason Metallica resonated more with me, and I think I had a couple friends that were, you know, there was, for some reason, I don't get why, but there was this whole like you're either Metallica or you're Pantera thing. You know, I never had any friends that liked both for some reason. There was like this, you pick one. I don't understand why. I mean, it's music fans are funny that way. Make it, they can make things a competition. But I remember I had a friend who was like, "Oh no, Metallica! You gotta listen to Pantera."
God, it's the modern day.
Nah, dude.
It's the modern day Beatles and Stones thing.
Master Puppets and
yeah. That's weird because that's two different camps.
Well, that's probably why there was a separation.
Well, the thing was that because in 1985 or 84. Was it 84? Good God. Maybe 83. No, 84.
84. Hey, that's when I was born.
My buddy, my buddy Pat in shop class, he goes, "Dude, you got to hear this album." And it was Metallica, Kill 'Em All. And I was like, "What in the world is this?" And then he brought in Anthrax. and then he said a little bit later, he said, "Have you heard of this band Megadeth?" And I'm like, "What?" So, but it was always the Megadeth Metallica camps that fought because Dave was in Metallica, and that didn't end so well. Yeah, so
but on some level, if you are a Metallica head and you realize that I don't really think this is where it spears from, but the fact that Dave was involved, even briefly with Metallica, that might be part of the reason that there's a one or the other vibe. But I never understood the Pantera Metallica thing because to me those are not.
No.
They're not the same. I mean, they're heavy, but that's about it. They're not
exactly.
They're different ball camps they're different things in my world. So
yeah, sure. One's like eating a bowl of rocks, and the other one's like eating a bowl of razor blades. You know what I mean?
Great explanation, I guess.
That's how I try to do it.
There you go.
I simplify things, Jeff.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna go gear a little bit here.
Yeah,
you had your Line 6 in the studio. What guitar were you playing at that point? Do you remember?
It was a silver RG 570 Ibanez.
Oh, okay.
570. Yeah, man.
That was the second guitar I bought on my own was that guitar, and I think I ended up going the Ibanez route because at that point I was just deep into Satriani and Vi, and those guys were Ibanez dudes. And not that I thought if I got one that I could magically play like them, but that's where the sound was originating from. So I figured, well, what the heck, let's get one of those. And I went to Guitar Center and picked one up, and still have it. I've sold one piece of gear my whole life. My wife might say I have an issue, but. And I even regret that, even though it's not something I would use. It's kind of a nostalgic thing because my first effect pedal was this multi-effect pedal by Art that had two stomp buttons, and each one of them controlled like the distortion type, and one of them controlled an effect type. And I used that forever, and that's the only thing I've ever sold.
So
So I have closets and rooms full of just junk that'll never be used, but it's nostalgic.
Right, it's not junk. It's not junk. You'll someday you'll find.
Let's bust out the Art pedal on this next tour.
Awesome. So you you're gonna want to take out the one pedal that you don't have, right? Okay.
Exactly.
So
I'll put it in the effects loop.
So you said that was the Ibanez was the second guitar you ever bought with your own money. What was the first? Because you obviously still have it.
Yeah, I do. I have it. I believe it's at my parents' house, which is in Dallas. My dad plays it occasionally, but it's a Samick electric. It's kind of a Strat body style, and it has like a pearl pick guard. And I remember I only had enough money. It was this little guitar shop in I can't remember the town. Right close to where I lived by there, this little guitar shop. And I only had enough to buy it, and they did like a layaway thing. And I just remember being so bummed because I was under the impression that I put half the money down and I could take the guitar with me. So I went and paid half of the money of the guitar, and they still just held it until I came back with the other half. So it was a life lesson about purchasing things and how layaway works. But
right.
Yeah, so it was this black Samick, and it was a great guitar, man. It's like I said, it's kind of a Strat body. It's got the Strat sound. I played that for years, and it still plays well. I mean, I love all these guitars for different reasons, you know.
Sure.
I wouldn't say they're the best guitar in the world, but it helped me stair step to where I am. So I'm appreciative to them for that.
Yeah, Samig, I think that was Sam Ash. I think maybe owned.
They made more guitars than
it
anybody.
Must have been a guitar shop that purchased from them because it wasn't a Sam Ash store, but I actually have 3 Samigs. I have two of them are acoustics, but I just found them at pawn shops for like $50 or $80, and they're little acoustics that I just use around the house that play really great. It's funny what you can find at a pawn shop if you're really looking.
Oh yeah.
And actually the other Samick I have is a black Samick, and we did this thing for me and my wife's wedding where we wanted to do like basically our guest book is a signed black guitar where everyone signs it in a silver Sharpie, and it's hanging in my studio. So
that's cool.
It's kind of cool for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's
pawn shops are very unique, by the way. You can go in and get a shotgun, a drill press, a guitar,
flat screen TV, and
right, and a coffee pot.
Yeah, exactly.
And a Mr. Coffee, right?
Yeah, all for $40.
All from a guy that looks like Bo Diddley. But you got to be the Blues Brothers. Remember that? That was Bo Diddley behind the counter, wasn't it? No, it was Ray Charles.
No, it was Ray Charles. It was Ray's music.
Right. Yeah, Ray's music. There's nothing wrong with this piano.
They're actually putting out. I just saw a Facebook post for some shirt. Like you see all the shirts all the time. It's Ray's music, and it's the round logo that's upside down on the shirt. It's friggin' hilarious. It's great. It's great. But do you have you got all these little acoustics? Do you have like a guitar laying in every room that's just there for you to pick up whenever you want to?
There's basically, I have my studio, which is kind of where most of them are, and then there's not enough room for them all in there, so I have some in the closet of the guest room, and they're not really sprawled out. I try to keep it a little cleaned up a little bit, but my wife's very patient with me and all my gear, so and she's the most supportive ever, so awesome. I'm really really blessed on that level, and it's fantastic to have, I never thought I'd have, this many guitars and be able to, collect and do whatever, but it's great, I love it. I love the guitar, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It's when you got a guitar in your hand, it's just like, that's it.
Well, it's hard to bend pianos. Bend the notes on pianos.
Oh, yeah.
You got to reach in and pull the string and stuff.
And
get a Steinway in my living room. I'll be happy.
There you go. Make a pedal steel out of a grand piano.
Yeah. Or you could just buy
How hard would that be?
Or you could just buy a guitar.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
So speaking of guitars and love of guitars and equipment and everything, what's your current stage rig? What's your touring rig? What's the backline like?
Okay. Well, I've been a Fractal guy for, let's see, it started before the Grand Experiment Tour, or the Alive Again, I can't remember what we called it. So basically a couple of years ago, before that I was playing a Lone Star Special Mesa Boogie head, and I had, an analog pedal board with like a Memory Man delay and Keeley compressor, a Keeley modded tube screamer, and a few other, maybe an MXR Distortion 3 pedal, and just some random things. And, I got some good sound out of it. But the issue I ran into was when we do fly dates or really any touring with this band, we backline amps and cabs and everything. And I found it very difficult to get a consistent sound because no matter, you're specific on your rider, but at some point it becomes a thing where, you're playing. I remember we played in Tel Aviv, and it's like you show up and there's like no matter what you put on your rider, there's just places you're going to play that they might not just have it, and you might have to deal with a crate head, and I had to do that. Mm-hmm. And when you don't get the sound you want, it can be uninspiring live. And what I found with the Fractal is not only is it just for me, one of the most amazing pieces of gear, for at least for what I do, and the fact that I can consistently get my sound anywhere in the world, just by, I have a rolling rack bag that has my fractal, and I have a Matrix 1000 or GT 1000 FX. It's a 1,000 watt power amp. I run stereo, so it's 500 per channel. You can bridge it and get 1,000 watts mono if you want. But so I run a stereo cab on stage out of the Matrix, and then that's really just for stage volume. And I still like to feel it in my feet. And if I pop any, we use in-ears, or everyone but Neal does. If I pop an ear out, I still want to be able to hear something. And also, I don't like when I've gone to a concert, and I love low stage volume at shows because you really get to hear the mix and all that. But I also don't like when you go too close to the stage and you don't hear any of the guitars because all the speakers are being shot above your head from the mains, So I like to have a little stage volume so that, I don't try to blow anyone away so that that's all they hear. But, there's a few reasons that I, have a cab, because it's not mic'd or anything, because I'm going direct from
the fractal
to in-ears in front of house from the fractal. But yeah, and then I have my MFC floorboard that fractal makes to control my patch changes and everything. And I have a Mission, I think it's SP1, a red SP1 pedal, or EP1, I'm sorry. And then I have I think a Roland expression pedal. So I got 2 expression pedals. One I'm using pretty much strictly for a wah, and one I'm using for volume. And that's pretty much my rig, man. It's simple, but it covers so much ground as far as what the fractal can do. I love that I can be on one preset with like the heaviest, most brutal sound ever, and then click one button and I'm on like the cleanest, spaciest, clean sound ever. So, and like I said, the consistency night to night, I mean, literally between that being consistent and the fact that we travel with like a front of house board that recalls in-ear mixes, like literally, I don't even think last night I had to make any adjustments. I literally just popped my ears in and played sound check, and it was perfect. I love that because it takes all when you're playing this amount of music, and some of it's pretty complex, and you don't want to have to worry about anything else other than what notes you're supposed to play and sing. So it's really nice to have all that, just worked out for you. You don't have to be worried about, your sound or anything like that. You can just kind of walk on into your job.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for fractal. I mean, I'm all about moving air, and I'm glad you actually do move some air on stage, which is great.
Well, with Randy over there with 1,600 watts blowing through 810s, I'm sure he's probably like...
Hey, I can get loud too.
Yeah, well, those Matrix power amps are nothing to shake a stick at, man.
Oh, dude, I don't think we've gone above on the 2 channels about 12 o'clock, and it's plenty. And in fact, I let a friend of mine who was thinking about getting one. He ended up he got one. I think he got the 2-rack unit, but I let him borrow it. He has an AX8, and he was running through it, and I came back later that afternoon, and he was like, I blew out one of my speakers. I was like, man, that thing you gotta be careful. That thing will push.
Yeah, Chris Broderick uses it through 2. He uses a full stack.
Okay.
So he's got 2 4x12s, but he has the fractal and the Matrix power amp, and that's all he uses. And you got. I mean, I've heard guys like Steve Vai and all. He doesn't use it for the amp modeling side, but that's
the effects.
All the effects.
It's like he did briefly, I think.
Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong, I saw some rig rundown where he was using it, or it was in his studio.
Yeah, it was in his studio.
And then he switched back where he's using, his Legacy or his Carvins, and then
it's probably a
mostly
paycheck
just for effects and stuff. But yeah, man, it's in any capacity. In a lot, I'm not going to say all because it's not true, but in a lot of these major players' rigs, you're going to find one of those green screens back there. It's just an amazing, no matter how you use it. If you're using it for the amp and cab stuff, if you're using the effects, it's just, it's a great piece of gear. And for me, I'm sold for life. I don't have any reason to try and lug around a bunch of different heads and try to get all this stuff. For me, this covers everything I need to do, and I just love it. It gives me everything I need.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, it's like Kemper. Kemper's the same way. I mean, they're direct and that's good that they have that competition because it's going to make them, strive to be better.
They're different technologically, but they serve the same kind of purpose,
exactly. And if you're pushing air through it,
absolutely.
It's air.
A friend of mine just bought the fractal pedal. I mean, it's very large.
The AX8.
Yeah, the $2,000 pedal.
Yeah, he just bought that. And he doesn't.
Well, and really,
he likes
it's amazing
amps.
how powerful that thing is. The real, I think, the only difference because they came out with the FX pedal board, FX8, I believe, and that was just the all the effects. The AX8 brings in the modeling, but I think there's just maybe less CPU power than a rack unit, so you can only run like 1 amp at a time, I think, and stuff like that. But it's still so powerful in this little pedal board. It's amazing. I'm thinking about getting one to keep around for maybe even some shorter fly dates that I don't want to bring everything. But
really shorten that rack up.
It's amazing the technology they have these days. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is, and Jeff's an amp maker and he uses the tubes and all, but it's neat because even the Fractal, you can get your sound in there if you have a favorite amp that has a modeling thing where it will pull in.
Right. Yeah, the IR capturing is phenomenal, and it's also phenomenal for tone matching. I've had to do some punches on some previous recordings where I had one where I had used an orange. I believe I used an orange head through like a Mesa cab or something. Like how are you going to replicate that? 6 months down the road, and I used their IR capture, or I can't remember if exactly that's what you call it, but it analyzes the sound if you have an isolated file in it. Tone matches, and it's pretty spot on. I mean,
that's insane, incredible. Man. I just that part is what blows my mind.
Yeah,
because it is true. If you have like a Marshall cabinet and you have some crazy head, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, how are you going to get that?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have
like
those amps laying around, and then even then you got to try and match.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, if your little EQ settings are slightly off, trying to get that, it's tough.
Yeah,
so
but,
do you think it?
Yeah, and it's also cool if you have like stem tracks. Like I've seen guys that, like if you have like the Black Album stem tracks, you can literally just throw the guitar tracks through it. It'll analyze it, and then you can have like the guitar tone from the Black Album.
Jesus, that's ridiculous. Crazy.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel that? Did you notice any difference in feel? Does it feel the same as a real amp to you?
It does for me. I don't know if I've tried to I've never really tried to, A and B the feel of it. All I know is that I feel like I play better because mainly I can get that sound I hear in my head, like super fast, and then all I'm worrying about is playing. And I don't know. It feels amazing. It feels like it's aggressive, or at least the sounds I use are can be aggressive and punchy, and they cut through without being harsh. And also at the same time, it's smooth and creamy. And I know I'm being that guy that's using, it sounds so brown. Yeah, I'm like being that vibey guitar player, dude. But I don't know. It covers all the elements of, a lot of the stuff I do is, at least like on my solo work, is a little more, it's pretty aggressive, I would say. It's 7-string, it's heavy, it maybe leans a little more on the metal side, and I can get that out of it. And then I can also get this, soaring clean, well, not clean, but a soaring lead sound that's cutting, but it's not harsh, it's, and if there's any Fractal geeks out there, my go-to kind of high gain amp model would be the Friedman HBE. They have a few, I think the V1 and the V2. I kind of use both of those pretty, I wouldn't say exclusively, but probably 90% of the time I'm using one of those models.
Cool. Now you mentioned you mentioned recording. Do you record with it as well?
I do. Actually, our latest Neal Morse band record and my solo record, The Great Unknown, it's all Fractal which is great because I do love amps and stuff, but for me, this it does it for me. And when I get people asking, what amps do you use? Like the fact that the technology is so close that, maybe if you're like a super, super audiophile, you might be able to pick out the differences. But I've A&D'd stuff online where people have created these things that are, figure out which one's the model and which one's the real amp. And it's just so close these days that it's pretty incredible. But yeah, for recording, it's incredible. I'm very happy with the sound and the tone I've been able to dial in with it. So.
And you go direct, right?
Yeah, I go. I do run, and it all depends on who's mixing and how you do it. But I run stereo. That they might end up panning it left and right, and I double track and do certain things, and it all depends on the song. But yeah, I just go direct. They got XLR out the back.
Mm-hmm.
Track it direct.
So do you use a sustainer or anything when you want to do get some feedback, or do you just not, is that not your style?
No, I wouldn't say it's not my style. I just don't have a guitar with a sustainer. I've always thought that was pretty cool. But I've learned there's just little tricks with building a preset even that I can click on either a drive or a compressor that's really going to give me, if I need that sort of sustaining effect,
gotcha.
Which I do. I do a lot, if I really want that note to hang over or something, I'll create a patch or something that will give me that. So
yeah,
I'd love to get a guitar with a sustainer in at some point in my life.
We talked to Joel Hoekstra, and he said when he was doing the Rock of Ages and the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, he said that he had his Les Pauls actually equipped with a Sustainiac, just so that way he could, achieve those things without having to even think about it.
And you could be anywhere on the stage.
Yeah, he just hits the switch.
You and turn around and angle at your amp just right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't even have anything. Right. It's just,
that's right.
It's all virtual.
Yeah. And
I think at least one of those, they're using fractals on some of them.
Yeah, they say it's stone quiet up there, and so it's all in ear.
Yeah.
Which has got to be there's a guy named Audley Freed.
Oh yeah.
And he used to play with a band called Cry of Love and then Black Crows, and he played with the Dixie Chicks. So it's ironic, we come full circle because he recorded at that studio.
Right.
And this was a guy that was, Stratocasters into JMPs, half stacks, 4 inputs, 1 wah, and just crank it up 110, right? So then he gets the gig with the Dixie Chicks, and he goes, where's the amp? And they're like, it's under the stage in a box. You're never going to hear it. And he had to have in-ears. And he said what happened is that he had to go to a Les Paul a junior double cutaway with humbuckers to achieve the single coil sound because of what the signal did.
Because of the amp.
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared, a little bit because of and what he heard in his ears.
Yeah.
And he said it took a little bit to get used to being that guy to go into the other thing, but now he survived.
Yeah, man, you're kind of in this world now with the in-ears and all that, and people wanting low stage volume, which is great. But when you get to a point with real amps and stuff, a lot of the real sound is when you really crank it to the sweet spot, and then when you have people that are putting it in a back room in a little box or turning it around and angling it away and baffling it, to me it chokes your sound. And that's an upside of my rig and what I do is that I still get the full sound I'm looking for, and I get to push some air, and it's the best of both worlds for me.
That's awesome.
It's the new thing. I mean,
the bottom line is whatever works. Like you said, you probably play better, because you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and there's guys out there that are maybe anti-modeling, or some guys that are so into modeling that and I'm not that way, man. It's about whatever sound you can get for you that's going to make you play the best, that you're happy with, that, does the job for you. And I found mine, and, I'm always open to trying stuff and new things, but, I get everything I need, so I don't have any reason to start messing around with anything
right,
else.
I mean, like I always say, if it ain't broke, don't break it.
Yeah,
it works.
Yeah.
It works for you.
Right.
It works for you, and that's all that matters, because it lets you worry about nothing but your performance that evening, and that's
absolutely,
that's great for the audience.
On stage.
Yeah, you gotta. That's the number one thing.
It's great for the player. It's great for the audience, because then they get everything.
Yeah.
Yes,
they
sir.
get you. You mentioned before we go, you mentioned solo stuff.
Yeah.
What do you have out there that you would like to let our listeners know of?
Yeah, man. So I put out my second solo record in June, I believe. It's called The Great Unknown. It's all original. I had a previous solo work called Afterthought, which I am super proud of as well, but it was my first real getting out there sort of thing, and really it was kind of put together out of necessity or a want to have a product out when I went on tour as a hired gun with Neal originally. Mm-hmm. So I had some older songs, and that first album's about half instrumental and then half vocals, mainly because I had a bunch of instrumental songs that were kind of demoed and ready, and so I just kind of revamped those and then wrote some new stuff to go with it. But with my new album, The Great Unknown, I would say that this album represents me musically, or at least as a solo artist, the best. And like I said, every track has vocals. I sing, I do a guitar. I played keys on a few tracks, but the band is, and ironically, I heard you guys, overheard you in the background talking with Neal about Paul Gilbert, and his drummer, who I guess you guys hadn't heard of, but is phenomenal. His name's Thomas Lang, and he played on my solo record, The Great Unknown, along with, if you're familiar with the band Haken, I have Diego Tejeda on keyboards and Connor Green on bass guitar, and they're just all killer musicians, man. They hit it out of the ballpark with these tracks, and yeah, I'm really happy with the final product. And like I said, it leans a little more on the heavy, probably a little more on the metal side, but yeah, it's called The Great Unknown. It's available through my website. It's on iTunes and all that. But yeah, it's my second solo work, and you guys should check it out.
Awesome.
See what you think.
And what is your website?
It is ericgillettemusic.com.
Cool. Well, that will live on our site
in perpetuity.
That's right. And you can see that also when it goes into the archives. Go out there and check that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
appreciate that, guys.
Let me tell you something. You're not filling that spot unless you know what you're doing. That's for sure.
That's right. That's right.
That is a gaggle of top musicians in that band.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh man, yeah, it really is an honor to play with these guys. I mean, not only are they just great, people and fun to be around and hang with, but they're the top of the top in my opinion, and it really is just like the most fun to play with them every night, and let alone play this music we all came up with collectively. And it's a special album, and I love that we're getting to present it live how we feel like it should, with the video, and we're doing some cool, like, kind of a little more dramatic, theatrical, costuming, not really costume, but we're just dressing the part and just like having it be an immersive, full experience. And I think that's what this album deserves. And I hope you guys can make a show maybe, and hope you guys out there listening can make it out, and hope you all enjoy the music. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, we've told our listeners, if you haven't heard of this band, you should, and if they come around, absolutely go see them.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm hoping to be able to do next week when you guys are in Falls Church, Virginia, just outside of D.C.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would love to see you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, go out and see them. Go out and buy the material. You know, the Neal Morse band and the Eric Gillette stuff. You know, some top-notch players, man. You gotta hear them.
Oh yeah.
Just
thanks, man.
Yeah, it's all good, and thank you, Eric, for taking the time with us. Continued success,
thank you guys.
Continued success in your career. Have a great and safe tour. You guys are all over Europe, and that's freaking awesome too.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So safe travels, great shows, and we'll catch you around next time.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, take care, Eric. And there you have the story.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow. You know, I love prog, and someday I might be able to play a quarter that well. You know, I really do enjoy it. I really do. And
yeah,
maybe it's just going to take a John Petrucci model for me in order to play it. You know.
Let me tell you, those guitars are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they kind of play themselves. You know, they're flat radiused. I mean, I think it's even flatter than what the Ibanez versions, because you know he had an Ibanez deal at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And then he went over to Ernie Ball, and they took forever to get that.
You're talking
right.
about Petrucci?
Yes.
Okay.
And those JP, you know, they have, I don't know how many different versions of that guitar. And they've been doing this for quite some time now.
Yeah.
And they've even got like these Majesty models that are crazy money, but very futuristic. And they, you know, what I heard is like they just amazingly how they play and all this stuff. And the bridges are just, there are no locking parts for the bridge. Everything is like locking tuners.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very unique thing. And
nice.
Yeah, you're getting something else when you get one of those.
Yeah.
We have to have Sterling on this show.
Oh, that would be comical as hell.
Because not only that, but he has a roster of like some of the most just insane players on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Luke.
Yes. Albert Lee. Steve Morse.
Right.
John Petrucci. I mean, you know, there's some heavy hitters right there.
Oh, yeah. No slouches there, my friend.
No.
Wow.
No. And, you know, it's pretty interesting to, you know, it's funny because we interviewed Randy and he's running the 810 stack.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric is
all virtual,
you know. I mean, he has a cabinet and he has a little power amp thing, but it's the virtual side that he gravitates towards. Yeah. You know, so and he likes to move that air, but not crazy.
If I was ever fortunate enough to play in a prog project, I don't think I'd go virtual. I'd head east.
Well, there you go,
East
my
Prague.
friend. That's right. So until next time, my friend.
Of course, because I might have one built by then.
There you go. I'm Mick Marcelino.
And I'm Jeff Bober.
And we're always saying,
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @AmpsandAxes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.